Hi, everybody. I have such a very special interview and conversation today. I'm with the amazing Susan Seaforth Hayes of Days of Our Lives. Thank you so much for being here on your birthday, no less. Happy birthday. We're all sending you much love and wishes
Thank
on
you,
your
Michael.
day. So good to
Thank you,
see you.
Michael. I'm happy to be spending it with you because we've known each other for a long time, not as long as I've been around, since this is the beginning of my 81st year on
What do you
Earth.
think of that? What do you
What do
think
I
about
think of Earth? I think it's in trouble. That's what I think of the Earth.
and what do you
And
think?
I think of the universe as a fresh field of endeavor. However, I don't support Mr. Musk sending us all to Mars. I don't want to go. I'd rather go to a national park. And any other questions?
I was just saying, like, I mean, it's amazing. 81. You're still
Yeah.
on Days of Our Lives. You're still working. Come
Who'd
on,
have thought it?
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who thought it? But you know, you and I've had a wonderful, enduring relationship. It's gone decades, and I love you, and I loved Bill so very much. And today was the people saw on Peacock the final scenes between you and Bill. And in the scenes, and I remember talking to you about this several months ago. You told me that you had rewritten some of it.
Yes.
And in the scenes, Julie, on the heels of the Abigail Chad situation of not knowing if Abigail's body's there in their relationship, she goes into like a overview of her love of her life with Doug and what it has meant to her. And then everybody was wondering what was the last line that Bill would say. And I believe he asked for one more kiss.
That's right.
Can you tell me about what that was like doing that scene for you on that day?
That day, like the last few days that he had worked, Billy's vision was completely gone. So he was working without being able to see, and his movement was quite restricted. When I saw this original script, 3/4 of the scene was about the tragedy of Abigail and Chad, and there was 2 pages about us. And they were written with care, but they were rather generic. They were suitable for people who want to say, you're a blessing. No, you're a blessing. No, you're a blessing. Well, it's all a blessing. And I thought, since Bill's health was deteriorating rather rapidly then, that it might be the final episode for the two of us together. So I asked permission if I could manipulate the words a bit, perhaps add, perhaps subtract. And very graciously, our producers allowed me to do that.
It's okay.
I was aware that other people didn't know all of these things that were on the set. The crew didn't know, but the crew had been outstanding in support of us, as they continue to be. And I asked Lucy, our stage manager, wait, can we do this without a dress rehearsal, without a camera rehearsal? Usually we have one rehearsal for the sake of the cameramen and the actors in the set. Prior to that, nothing. We run lines by ourselves. We have had a dry block in the morning that explains, and then you're sitting on a sofa, and then on that line you get up and you leave the room. Okay. If there are props involved, you have to discover them for the first time and work with them. So I figured this was it. And Billy was beautiful, and I wanted him to ask for a kiss. As you probably know, Michael, when we were doing a set of interviews about soap opera lovers, Bill's first law of a happy relationship was you kiss each other first thing in the morning and you kiss each other last thing at night. And we always did. And whatever happens in the middle, that's life. But we're grounded to know that you're there for each other. And for years, we'd be in bed reading or talking, whatever, time to put out the light. Billy would walk around to my side of the bed and kiss me. For about the last 4 months, he wasn't quite able to do that. So I would come over, arrange the covers, turn down the light, and give him his goodnight kiss. And he would tell me how much he loved me. And I didn't want to go out on that. I didn't want his last line to be, I love you, Susan. I love you, Julie. I wanted him to ask for more, because in life, he always did. And that was the beauty of our relationship. It was always alive. It was always one more kiss. And that's how I'd like people to remember him. And so many people have remembered him with love and passion. Passion, which was also part of the ingredients. And he was happy to have that line and happy to have a last kiss on camera as our farewell together. The difficulty for Julie and for Susan lay ahead. Again, the production staff of Days of Our Lives has been wonderful, absolutely wonderful to me and to his memory. And for those who are missing him already, it's going to be handled beautifully. For the scripts that I have seen and for the shows that I have done, it's going to be handled with more gentility and love than I have ever seen displayed since we lost Frances Reed and Mac. I can remember vividly when Frances lost her husband and came into work the next week, which I also had to do. She said, nobody mention it. Nobody say anything. I have to get through this. Don't say anything to me. Well, I didn't want that. And everyone had something to say that was beautiful and uplifting. I hardly realized how universally he was loved until his passing. There have been long periods on the show when we didn't appear. And you tend to think, well, they forgot. We had our moments and they're over. And be happy you had them. And we did have our moments and they were over. And I was happy. But I didn't realize how many other people loved him as much as I did. He had a lot to give as a human being to others, and he never held back. He was compassionate, he was enthusiastic, he was supportive, he was a mensch, he was a gentleman, he was a lover, he was a darling, in addition to being a hell of a singer, a hell of a performer. It was a privilege to be beside him all those years and to be beside him in this last show that he had. I'm glad it wasn't a one-way telephone conversation, if you know what I mean.
I was going to say, I knew watching the scene that it was so how you would have wanted it.
Thank you. Well, we know each other.
We know each other, and I sat there in tears, but I sat there in tears, and I was like, "Oh, good. This is how Susan would do it," because we've talked so many times that I understand as much as I can how you feel and what you've gone through. And just to the point about Bill, Susan, the years I've been covering this, I don't think there's anyone that was more beloved or is more beloved than Bill. When you left that day and you left with Bill and you'd done the scenes, how was Bill at that point? I know he wasn't feeling well, but I mean, was he aware of what had just gone on? And
He wasn't in a dream state. He was with us until hospice, I would say the last 4 days. He was aware of what was going on around him. The last 4 days. And that scene that we shot was 4 weeks before his demise. 4 weeks, 98. Able to do it. Able to do it, happy to do it. Terrific. That's the impression he always gave of being with you, and he continued to be with us. He passed away at home with 2 of his children there, one of his granddaughters there, me, our assistant. Okay. We had all gathered to celebrate the birthday of one of our family members, one of his daughters. And the house was full of people. And they had made his mother's recipe for pancakes. They were all having a happy, jolly, very happy experience in the kitchen. And his hospital bed was in the adjacent family room. And we were in and out and around him. So there was a lot of laughter and a lot of pleasure. And we were all on our way to the store. And I went over to the bedside and said, "We're just going to be away for a few minutes, darling. Bye for now, but we'll be right back." And we all piled into the car and we got to the store. And I know the owner of the store, and got a telephone call from his son. "Come right now. Come now." And that was the one day when we couldn't park easily. And I'm running and running to get to the car to get back. And my daughter is holding my hand saying, "Breathe, Susan, breathe." We came through the door and he was gone. We were all around him, saying goodbye, kissing him, loving him. And people asked, "Do you suppose you waited until you were ready to leave the house to say goodbye so you wouldn't be there?" So he was free to go. And maybe that was true. I would have wanted to be holding his hand at that moment, but I've been holding it for more than 50 years. He knew how much he was loved. So I think it was a beautiful passing. His granddaughter Betty had made this wonderful ceremony the night before. Put candles in the room and flowers. And she went to the bedside and began to speak about the corporeal body, about his body. "These are the feet that have carried you, that have danced and traveled and held you up and carried you through the world. These are the legs that have kept you strong," all the way up to his heart, to his head. And it was a salute to the person that he was. He heard that. He knew that was there. That was going on. It was wonderful. I had no idea that my granddaughter was so deep and so devoted, and it was a transition rather than an end. And he is, of course, still with us in our hearts.
Of
And
course.
not visible, but I like to think still participating. And another family member has said, who has lost her spouse, said, yes, I know he is gone. So now when I go to a new place and see something wonderful that he would have liked if he had been there, I have to remember I'm his eyes now. I'm seeing it with him still. I don't want to talk about that anymore, Michael.
I'm not going to, no. But those are all just beautiful, beautiful sentiments. And I'm so very, very sorry for your loss and all of our loss, because he was the greatest. And I do want to say, though, all the years that I knew Bill, I'm sure he'd be thrilled that you're working at Days, because he was your biggest fan. I honestly know this. He thought you were the greatest actress. There was
And a
nobody
pretty
better.
good wife. All I wanted to be was a great wife. I'll
Yeah.
never achieve the greatest actress, but I'd like to be on a list of good wives.
I'm sure you're the great. I mean, everybody admires yours and Bill's love story, the real life love story. It is the one to emulate. Everyone says, I wish I could have a love like Bill and Susan. I wish I had that in my life. So many people told me this. You are the couple that everyone looks to, like, oh, if I can only have that kind of great love of my life. And like I said to you before, how fortunate are you to have had that? So many people never, ever have that in their lives.
I know. In the scene we were talking with about Chad and Abigail, to get back to the show, where their relationship was intense and loving but cut short. And the blessing for us was, yes, we had a lot of time, we had a lot of opportunities to say I love you. And my advice to anyone who in any kind of relationship is, do not hesitate to verbalize I love you every chance you get. Believe me, it never gets stale, and everyone needs to hear it. Everyone needs to know they are seen, appreciated, and have earned love.
You had a line in there in the final scene about him being at the orphanage, him starting at the orphanage.
Which was also a storyline that my mother wrote. My mother was a collected orphan. My
Yes.
mother came to my grandmother's house in a laundry basket. And Bill's family life, Bill was a wanted child. Bill had angelic parents. When I met him, of course, I was crazy about him. And then I met the family, and I realized if you marry him, you are marrying 22 in the immediate family. And I had never seen a marriage so beautiful as his parents' marriage. And we wanted ours to have those qualities, which were trust, respect, humor, passion. I think we made it.
I think you made it. What's it been like working for you with Chad, with Billy Flynn in his story? You've spent
Billy
so many
Flynn
years
has
with
been,
him. It's been nice for you.
it's been a comfort. Billy is growing up every day. A couple of weeks ago, we were having a conversation in the dressing room, running lines together, and got around to I asked the question, who is the person in your life that was your mentor, that was your guide, that he said, my North Star? I said, yes. My grandmother. Well, my grandmother, same deal. And I had a scene to do today talking about the Horton family. And I took Billy's line and stuck it in a speech. And we'll be saying, Alice Horton was the diamond of the Horton family and my North Star. And Billy said of his grandmother, she was my North Star. And we're both, even the word grandmother, we're both sitting there. the emotion came up so deeply from within, which of course is what in soap opera you're supposed to do. You're supposed to show the activity of an emotion. We call it acting, but often it's revisiting those moments in your own life. Certainly doing this story between Doug and Julie, it's being well written and hopefully well played, but we are examining we are examining loss in real time, in real life, for me and my beloved. I hope I'm up to it. I want to be honest and truthful for the sake of all of the people in our audience that have lost their loved one. And it hasn't been necessary to blow ammonia in my eyes to make me cry, or the eyes of the other actors that knew Billy. So that's a plus. So there's a lot of reality. There was reality in our love, and there's going to be reality in the loss.
Yes, and I do remember, when they had an on-set celebration for the 15,000th episode, which we will see in December, because everything tapes ahead. And I got a moment with you, and I was just so happy to see you. And I said, "How are you doing?" And you said, "I'm holding up." But I knew it had to be a tough thing for you, because this was the end of the Doug memorial, and this was the taping of that and all of that. And everybody said to me that they were amazed by you, because a lot of people probably couldn't do what you could do.
I don't know. I spoke at my mother's funeral in our church, the church Billy and I were married in, that our grandchildren were married in. And I spoke for Bill Hayes at our church, First Christian Church of North Hollywood. And I planned what I was going to say, and I stepped up to the podium, and I suddenly realized in that room there was so much love and so much support for the Hayes family. I would never speak to an audience anywhere that cared so much. And it lifted me and enabled me to get through it.
And now at Days, they've kept you working. They've kept you
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, I have a little contract.
A little contract. And did they say to you, did they come to you and say, do you feel like you want to do this? Or
yes, as I've gotten older and older, and to Bill as well, they've said, "Do you feel like doing it? Do you want to keep doing it?" Well, I'm afraid after all this time, this is my life. This is what I do. I can't operate a cash register. I have difficulties with the computer. And now that I have a large car, I have difficulties parking parallel. But I can still be Julie. And wow, how great. Older women, postmenopausal women, women who have lived a long time, who are not as attractive physically, who are no longer objects of sexual desire, still have some value. And the value is having lived and remembering what pain and what joy are like, and how to, and often have manipulated their understanding of life enough. And I hope that Julie Williams will continue to have.
Yeah, I just can't believe the people that from being Julie at a very young age to now, all of the amazing, iconic people that you worked with at Days of Our Lives. It's like mind blowing when you look at the list. Do you ever go, I can't believe I got to do all that?
Yeah. Oh, all the time.
Right. I mean,
I'm driving into the studio. I still can't believe I get to go through the gate. I really do. I'm thrilled that I have a badge. I'm thrilled that I got to be with the one person on earth that meant the most to me in front of a camera for all those years. It is a privilege. And I'm not the only woman, female person on the show that feels that way. What's known as the legacy cast. I've heard, I feel so lucky that I get to do it. I could I could name all the women and the guys that feel that way. And we support each other in, isn't this fun? Isn't this great? It is a gift.
Well, it's been a gift to all of us to get to see you, because Julie is the show to many, many people. Big part of the show.
A part of an
Part of
ensemble.
the big ensemble. But what I'm saying
The
is,
oldest living actor on the show at the moment.
Correct.
Yeah.
So many people wrote me like about what they thought Bill's last line was going to be, and a lot of them thought I thought it was going to be, "I will be loving you always." But you know what I mean? People were like, "Oh, that's what it's going to be." But in my heart, I was like, it's got to be something that's very, very important and personal to Susan. And that's kind of what the bets were. They were like, "Oh, I know that's what's going to be. I know that's what it's going to be." But I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Great. Are you going to be able to watch it?
Maybe later, not today, maybe later in the week.
Yeah.
That's going to be the hardest one to watch.
I know. Well, happy birthday, Susan.
Happy birthday to all of the July babies.
And I think
cast members like to have birthday parties together. So Suzanne and I are very close in birthdays. Suzanne Rogers and Judy Evans and I are all within a couple of days of each other. So
right.
We'll be celebrating together. Yeah,
that's right. And I was going to say, if anybody hasn't watched the final scene between Doug and Julie, make sure to go to Peacock and watch it. The streaming, it's there all the time. That's the beauty of having Days on Peacock. You can watch it anytime.
Over and over. You don't have to skip school. I have so many people that tell me I skipped school to see your wedding. Right. It's there for you to enjoy it. Yeah.
All right, Susan, I will talk to you, I'm sure, very soon. Sending you much love.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your care and your support.
Of course, always. All right, everybody. Make sure to watch Days of Our Live streaming on Peacock. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, honey bun.